Well, it's time to do another video on this Polish Type 3 build. Decided I'll do it in little stages here and there and bring you guys along for the ride. It's not a tutorial, just tinkering with it and putting it together and just showing you what I do. Doesn't mean it's the right way to do it, it's just how I'm doing it. Anyway, seeing as this is a brand new Tortort receiver, it was an 80%, now it's 100% since it's been machined. Since the lugs in here are brand new, and with the 1960s model Top 3 kit that I purchased, for some reason it is a brand spanking new bolt, even though all the other parts are original from the kit. This is brand new, but they did go ahead and put the serial number on it, but it is not used at all. There is not a single mark on this thing. So, in order to make sure that they match, I'm not just going to put it together and headspace it and hope for the best. I'm going to actually lap or make everything match. There's no bullet guide in here yet. So I do have this old one that I purchased, I believe from Apex. I think that's where I got it. It's been so long ago I don't remember. But it came out of a rifle. You can tell there's the rivets in it. So I got to pop this rivet out. And I have a little round stock here that I got a hole in, and there's a slot cut in it. And then it just sits on there. After I grind that down, I can punch that rivet out. Makes it a little easier to get them out. So to do that, I have my little tool here that I made. Seeing as how the hole in here is a lot bigger than your standard barrel because it's threaded. And it's a threaded barrel. It'd probably work fine, but there was a lot of slop in here. So I decided to shim it a little bit. So I got a 25 thousandths thick shim that goes on there. Still wobbles around a little bit, but not near as much. And anyone that's wondering, I've had people ask about this tool right here. All it is some round stock. I took the bolt and I put it up in the mill, and I'm pretty sure I used a little center finder. It's kind of like an edge finder, but it's a little pointed one like a cone that goes in there, and then you just kind of move it around, use your fingernail to feel the edges and make sure you're centered. I think I did it on the firing pin hole because I don't getting old, I can't remember anymore. I don't think I swept the hole in here because it's interrupted. So I think I picked up the firing pin hole, hoping that it's in the center. And then I zeroed my DRO or digital readout, then I went over here and I picked up this hole. So when I machined this, I made the clearance just like a bullet would do, or a shell, to go in here. And then I went over and drilled a hole, and I made a separate pin. It's undersized, it's a separate pin, and then I just pressed that down in there, and then that's what goes in just to help me turn it. If anybody was wondering how I did that. I didn't machine this all off center. You could do that if you wanted to, but I didn't take the time to do that. I just, to be quicker and easier, just to pop a hole in there and then press a little pin in there. It's all undersized. Just press it in there. Anyway, that's how that fits in there. And some people have a heart attack that I cut an actual carrier up, but this carrier was used purchased a long time ago for 20 bucks. When you could get them for 20 bucks, now they're 120 or higher. And I had machined on it already to try to use it in a 5.56 build that I thought I was going to be cute and fancy with, and it didn't work. So I'd already machined it and kind of, in my opinion, kind of messed with the integrity of it a little bit. So cutting it up to use with my little tool I made here wasn't a big deal to me because I wasn't ever going to use it in a rifle anyway. I didn't trust it, even though it probably would have worked just fine. But since I'd already machined on it, I didn't mind cutting it up. Anyhow, I guess we'll get in here and we'll pop this rivet out of here and get busy doing this. There's that. It looks like it's Pretty close to being in place. Spinning around here without everything going out of focus. Fingers in the way. Yeah, it looks pretty close. Alrighty, now I got to rivet this in. Alright, I got the little rivet made. I can spin it around so you can see it. There it is. Put a flat on it and cut it off roughly kind of how I wanted it. So now, you think, well, why'd you put the flat on the head? Well, it's going in a cylindrical bullet guide down here. It's like it's rounded. So it's just less material for it to have to push and try to flatten out inside of there. Once I get it flattened out in there, you'll just come back and grind it anyway. You might, I don't know if you can tell or not. You can tell from the factory it's been ground when they had the original bullet guide rivet in there. They're like perfectly flush and ground, and you can't hardly even tell that it's two pieces. But anywho, so I'll have to grind it once I do it. So we'll get our little homemade rivet here. Get it put in. You see it sticks up quite a bit. Try not to move the thing around too much. It's focused right there. If I start moving it all too much, you know, focus will be all over the place. Nobody wants to watch focus go in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. It's annoying because you can tell my hands are out of focus. But anywho, take it over to the press now and we'll press this little booger and make him one piece now. So let's get that done. Alright, I got it in there. Got it pressed in. There's no gaps, you know, up underneath there. It's seated in there. But there is a slight problem. Where before it went in, now uh-oh. Far as she goes. So, the joys of building. And there's no gaps underneath it from what I can see, so the lines all lined up. So, I knew it was pretty tight to begin with. Since I've got to grind that little rivet head down in there to match it a little better, I'll just kind of, it has a recess in it in the back of it for the barrel to slide over to begin with. I'll just kiss that too. The good old AK tool, Dremel. And the bullet guide could be just a little higher back there from the smashing process, who knows. But it looks like, because I can look down through this section here, and it looks like it's seated. It's definitely seated from back here, but it may still be slightly cocked to be now just because of that, but that won't affect anything. You just got to figure out now which way you want to address the issue. Turn this or grind on the inside of here. Like I said though, I'm going to be grinding anyway, so might as well just get in here. Of course I can only reach that little shoulder, so I'll have to pull this out a little bit more to be able to reach that rivet head. And these do not have much of a reach to begin with. So, see what we can tear up. Shoulder right up there, and looks like I really need a new drum on there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just do that off camera. Get that out of the way. All right, I got the. You can probably see the shiny inside of there. That's where that little recess cut in there. It was touching more on the high side up here. Got that out of the way. Now the barrel actually does thread in. In with ease, hits up against the shoulder, and the bolt here goes in and completely turns over and has a gap in there, which is actually what we're wanting. It is barely a little gap in there. That's not where we want it to sit, but that's where we want to start for getting our headspace, so when we clock this thing and time it and finally put the last torque on it, we've got everything where we want it. The barrel is from AK Builder, and they leave this shoulder long, which makes the chamber face long. It pulls the chamber face back away from it. So that's good, because then all you got to do, if you have a lathe, is come in here and take a few thousandths off at a time until you get that sucker set where you pretty much where you want it, and then you can torque it down and be golden. If they made it short, well then you'd have to come in with shims and work your way back with different shims to get your headspace where you wanted it. So if you're doing a screw-in barrel like this, you're just beating yourself up, and you're making things really difficult if you don't have a means of being able to turn evenly the material off the back side of the shoulder here on this barrel. That will allow your headspace to become shorter and get tighter. So if you don't have a way to do that, I'm not going to say it can't be done without a lathe, but you're really making things difficult on yourself if you're not using a lathe. That way it's even all the way around. Because you'll be surprised, 2 to 5 thousandths will make one heck of a difference on where your headspace is going to sit. You'd be surprised. But AK Builder is nice enough to leave that shoulder long, so you can come in and turn and get it where you want it. So we know that works. Okay, we're ready to start lapping some lugs. Alright, before I lap these lugs, talk about that little ramp right there. You see it on the bullet guide. It's a turning ramp. That works in conjunction with the little ramp right here. Little angle here. When your bolt makes contact with that, those two little ramps work together, boop, it starts to kick it over. And then your carrier comes in and finishes off the job and helps lock the whole thing into battery. And then when the gun is fired and the bolt carrier gets pushed back from the gases, well, the bolt carrier itself is what unlocks it. That channel inside of here actually unlocks it. So they work in conjunction. So if you've ever been curious as to why that little ramp is right there, that's why. And yes, there are measurements for it and all that stuff, but we won't get into that. What we're going to do here now is, like I said before, since all these lugs, because you can tell, look, this is brand spanking new. There is not a mark anywhere on it. This has never ever been used. And we know this is brand new, so we're going to use a little tool here with my sleeve on it that I made. And we'll lap these lugs in, get them looking nice and pretty. Get them to match up a lot better. They may actually be pretty close already. I don't know. We'll have to see once we get started. But I don't ever just assume that, well, because they're made on CNC machines currently, you know, that it should be 100% spot on. Well, that's not necessarily true. So I'm just going to make sure and verify by lapping the lugs. All right, here's the lugs starting out. You can see that lug right there. You see it still has the, I guess this is Parkerizing or whatever is on this receiver. Hasn't been worn off. So I have put the bolt in there by hand and just kind of farted around with it. You see there's no contact being made over here. This one here, you can see two little dots right up there. It's hard to do with looking through a camera and do this at the same time. Two little dots right there where it just made a little contact. And that was just doing it by hand, playing around with it when I first got it, putting the parts together, see how everything kind of went together. But that's what the lugs look like to begin with, and we know the bolt lugs are good, so I'll show you the progress or the final product or whatever, and you'll be able to see how much contact we do have, because right now we don't have a whole lot just by hand. So we'll lap them and we'll make the marks, rub marks, the same on both of them. So let's get busy. Alrighty, take our lapping compound here and we'll put it on our little lugs on the inside here. I don't know what grit it is. It's just stuff we had sitting around the shop that we're going to throw away. It's the grit or grate or whatever is rubbed off of it. So I don't know what it is, but I can tell you it's not very heavy. All right. Yeah. Oops. It wants to rotate it too far, it kicks out. See, I can, if I use the actual carrier like this, it would completely cover all this up and I wouldn't be able to see as good. That's why I have this sacrificial one here that I bought a long time ago that was machined on. I'm never going to use for anything. So we'll do this just a little bit. Have a look at it. Oops. This is good for putting pressure on it that way. Making sure these are going to match. See how close it was anyway. Yeah, let's go ahead and try that. Pull that out of the way. Pull this out the way. And we'll clean this up. I can tell it's touching. You may not be able to see it because of the way the light's going to be shining on it, but I can tell we're making contact on this one. We're making pretty good contact on those lugs. Like I said, you most likely won't be able to see it because of the raw nature or finish of the bolt, and then the shine from the lights. Let's get something in here to clean this. Clean all this off in here. Alrighty. Look down in there. Oh yeah. I'm making good contact in there. So these were pretty close to each other. Here, I'll swing the camera around where you can see it. All right, you can see still a little bit of crud on the end of it. You can see we're making good contact on that lug now, right here. Look at that. And there's the one up top here, making contact on. So just a little bit more, we'll be good to go. This one was pretty freaking close. I'm impressed. There they are. So I'll do that just a little bit more. I guess there's no need to show that to you. I can just show you the final product because you kind of got the gist of it. So I'll finish that up and show you the final product. All right, you can see that lug does make contact, or it was lapped and goes all the way up. You couldn't see it good the way the lighting was when I showed it earlier, but it does go all the way up basically. So in this lighting I got it right now, it looks a lot better. And I noticed also when I was putting what I filmed in the editing software, that when I was pressing this rivet in, that the side over here was kind of folding like a taco. It was bending in a little bit from all the pressure being put on it. So luckily these things flex and didn't crack, because there's a lot of pressure being put on there. I probably put way more than I needed to. But that popped out just a little bit, and that's where I was making contact when I was trying to screw the barrel in and started grinding on this little relief cut in here anyway. That's when I noticed, hey, it's hitting here, so I ground there more, and it goes in now. But that was just something neat to see on film, because it's like, whoa, I can actually see that now. Just wish the rivet would have been more centered. You can see how it squished off center. But I mean, it's not going to hurt nothing. It's going to be covered up. But yeah, at least it all screws in. I didn't crack the bullet guide, and we have good contact. Well, that part's done. We've got the lugs lapped. I'm happy with them. I think they've got good enough contact. I can move forward now. The next thing will be to set headspace, which will require me taking the barrel up to work and just a little at a time, a few thousandths at a time, take the material off the back of the shoulder of that barrel. So, all right, I figured I might want to check it before I actually take it to work. I got to take all this stuff to work anyway, so we'll check it right quick, see where it is. This is a go gauge, voltage stripped. Put it together and whammo! Yeah, it goes in. Look at there. Stops here, has a gap here, which is, I believe that's typical of a milled receiver. I think for an AKM or a stamped receiver, it's reverse. It stops back here and has a gap here. Anyway, this is where it stops. It does go in. So we will put in, now it's just hand tight. Of course, when I tighten it, which I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do to tighten it, because there's no flats on here like on a Galil. I've got some blocks with some rubber impregnated into them that are rounded, cylindrical. I might be able to squeeze it and get it torqued pretty good. But anyhow, here's the no-go. No-go in there. And whack. Oh, stops. Look at that. I'm putting a lot of pressure on it, so all right. Technically, I could leave it right there, but I'm not going to. I'll go ahead, take it to work, and put it up in the lathe, and I'll take a couple of thousandths off the back of that shoulder right there. So we'll just screw in just a little bit. It probably won't take much, because with the go gauge, I would really like for it to have more of a little bit of pressure and click. A little bit of pressure on there. Technically, I could leave it, but I'm not going to. I'm going to make it just a little tighter on that, which it will still be loose on a live round. So, next is that. back here, about 4 thousandths. In the video it looked like way more than that, but about 4 thousandths. Just lightly touching it and then going in. Seat up against everything. Alrighty, here is our go gauge. Bolt is stripped. Now I haven't torqued it. That's just sticking it in there, and we're already pretty freaking tight right there. So when I torque it, it's probably going to be way tighter than I want. So I'll have to come in and just lightly lap it. I knew when I got a little overzealous and went for 4 instead of 2 or 3. Probably should just went 2. But it's not that big a deal. Smack it to get it open. Well, forgot I don't have a 24-inch crescent wrench here, so I got to use a pipe wrench. So, better protect it. We can torque this thing a little bit. Yeah, it's gonna spin. I figured it would. I mean, I can't get it back apart right there, but tighten it a little more. Let's see. Yeah, it's just gonna spin. All right. Well, I don't know how much is on it. It ain't coming loose, but I'd still like a little more ugga-dugga on it. All right, I have aluminum jaws on my bench vise here at the house. I just went ahead and squeezed on the barrel and used a dead blow hammer to kind of tighten the handle up a little bit and put the pipe wrench back on there, and I got just a little more tweak out of it. I guarantee it's not coming out by hand. I don't know how much is on there, but I'm going to shoot for that's enough. And besides, once you get the rear sight block on there, it can't unscrew itself anymore because I believe, I mean, this one's lower, so I don't know, so we'll see. It should help keep that booger on there. Let me get the muzzle device off here. I may have to lower my voice or go in and edit this because the camera is only about 4 inches from my face here. So I know you can probably hear me breathing too, so I apologize for that. Sorry. Us fat people got to breathe though. Yeah, that'll keep it all from spinning. So this is your anti-rotational device. Works for me anyway. All right, put this back on there, protect the threads. All right, so here we go. Yes, there is a live bullet here. Don't freak out. The gun can't fire. Now, with the go gauge, try not to breathe in the phone. I know it's got to be annoying. Boop. There is a noticeable gap, and that is, in my opinion, way too big of a gap. I got some of these little 6-inch things here. I like for it to just to fit in between there. But that doesn't mean that that's where it has to be. That's just where I like it. So we know it's really, 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 really tight on that go gauge. But watch, when you put a live round in there, boop, goes all the way over. But it's still too tight, so I'm going to have to lap the lugs a little bit and get it where I want it, to where it has a, because right now there's no way you're going to close it. I knew I should have went for 4 thousandths.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Yeah, see, I can't even close it, so, yep. Whoops. It happens. But I'm not going to shim it. I'm I'm going to lap it. Well, I got the lugs lapped, and I think I got it where I want it. So, let's give it a whirl. Before I couldn't get it in at all, because I took a little too much off that shoulder. But when you lap it with that neat little tool I got, it doesn't take much, because we're only talking a few thousandths here. So let's see where we're at now. There it is. Oh yeah. You can tell about the thumb putting pressure on it. I don't know how much it is, but I'm not going to jack with it anymore. I'm going to take that as a win and leave it. Because the last time I said, screw it, I'm going to go up there and take a little off the... Well, that wasn't a good idea. I could have probably left it completely alone from the get-go and just torqued it really good, because I torqued it even better this time. I had to use a dead blow mallet here in my vise and hit the handle, getting it tightened up. And if you do that, you got a Harbor Freight one bench vise, be very careful. I have broke one of those in half before by banging on the handle to try to get it to tighten more than I could actually torque it with my hands. So I got a little bit bigger, better vise here, but I did break a Harbor Freight one. But anywho, we're good to go on this now. So I'm guessing, what are we going to do next? I guess next we'll rear sight block and make sure the dust cover and everything fits good. So that'll be next.